let's say there is a young man coming from, let's use Poland, for example, early 20s, comes into the country, works for 10 years, commits a crime,
Mm,
goes to prison. Now, in terms of what would be best for the Brits, would be to deport him,
mm,
right? Because why the hell should Britain pay for foreign criminals
mm.
essentially in their prison systems, in the justice systems? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But you could then argue, well, Poland actually paid for raising them and then he buggered off, so Poland never actually got any taxes out of that one person. The only country that then got any sort of taxation from that person was Britain, so that's kind of your problem now. And there is there are priorities here to be had because the social contract that you've got with your own population, with your own people, is look after those people, even if it means that your diplomacy and on the international scale might suffer.
Mm.
Like, how do you see that? Because, like, technically, from the money point of view, it is Britain's problem,
Mm.
but I still think morally it isn't.
Well, you've touched on something so interesting here because this actually speaks to a larger issue. Because once again, if we only think as our elites do, in terms of profit and loss, in terms of quantity, then you can actually make quite a compelling case that that prisoner should stay in Britain because yeah, they've only paid into the system in Britain. But actually, that misses a far more fundamental point, which is he's not from here. He's not of this land, and therefore the idea, if he comes here and commits a crime, it's like inviting somebody into your home and they just start flipping tables and ripping down paintings and spray painting on the wall and all this sort of thing and trashing the place. You kick that person out, and that's just quite a simple moral thing, in my opinion. Because this fundamentally comes down, and this has come up already today, but I think it's really important that we hit this point hard, to the conversation about identity. Because that person who's come into Britain, who has worked in Britain, who's then committed a crime in Britain, and who has gone to prison in Britain, isn't British. They
Yeah,
may have been here, they may have had British friends, but ultimately, when push comes to shove, when we're at the very when we're at the very extreme edge of the conversation, and we're talking about whether or not to remove this person, if they were an ancestrally British person, then they would stay because they're British. But if they're not, then they don't because they're not from here.